Hi, my name is Roland Jean Charles from PMI JCM Realty Group, where we manage properties from an asset management perspective. Today, what I'm going to be talking to you about are 5 tips for how to make your Tampa HOA run smoother and increase your ROI. Now, I'll tell you straight from the beginning, being an HOA volunteer is a thankless job. You know, as a CAM, a person who works or has worked with HOAs, I see the type of pressure that the president, the vice president, secretary treasurer, and all of the other members of HOA boards and COA boards are under to, provide for the community. And ultimately, the HOA has a great goal, right? So the goal of an HOA or COA is to keep a certain standard for the community, keep a certain standard for the building, for the structure, so that the property values for all members continue to grow and improve. So it has a very, very valiant goal. However, sometimes um, things happen that are misguided. Members become disillusioned, and it becomes a contentious environment, right? And so, what I want to do today is I want to talk to you about some tips that you can use to improve that communication, the um, to improve the community, to improve the running of your HOA, so that you can get a better result from your HOA, so that you can provide better services and better results to the members, and so that the members can also get the value that they're expecting from the HOA, and ultimately to increase your property values moving forward over time, right? Because it ultimately is about the quality of life, the quality of the community, and that return on investment that you get by increasing property values, right? So let's go ahead and go to the tips. And this went too far. Let me bring that back. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to increase communications. That's not always easy to do. Now, it's within the law that you have to, advertise meetings before they happen, right? Because the meetings are open to anyone, right? And so you have your yearly meetings, you have to advertise that, your quarterly or monthly meetings, depending on when you decide to have them, you have to advertise that, but that's just at the bare minimum. What a board or what an HOA community board or COA community board needs to do is build other mechanisms to further communicate with the community, right? So if you have a Facebook page, you may want to use that, right? Using Open Door or Next Door would be another good way to continue to communicate with your members. You may want to have you may want to have open office hours, right? Where maybe a board member would be available to speak to a community member that's having an issue or having a concern, right? Those are all tips that you can use to further improve communication with the community, right? You can have a website, right? That you can also put together and have that as a way to better communicate with the community. The point I'm trying to make is this, right? Don't settle for the bare minimum. Don't just communicate with the members when you have to by law to let them know about a meeting. Have newsletters, use Facebook, use all these free resources, and some of them not free. Like creating a newsletter, I'm sure it's not free. Someone has to spend the time to do it, right? But use other resources and take the opportunity to communicate with your community, especially if there are, big issue items coming in. You want to make sure you communicate that. But just having that open line of communication will definitely help make the community feel more involved and more engaged, and it'll get you a better result over time as well. The next tip that I have is you want to improve transparency, right? Now, there's certain things you can't disclose, right? You can't disclose people's personal information, right? But when it comes to your community finances and funding, you need to make sure that that information is available, right? And sometimes it's difficult to get that information from an HOA board because they don't like sharing that information sometimes, right? You can't put out there that a certain homeowner owes X amount to the community. That's against the rules, against the law. You can't do that. But you can tell the community the health of the your reserves, where you are with doing repairs, the cost for certain things that are being paid for by the community. You can let them know where their dollars are going, that they're paying these dues on a weekly, or no, not weekly, but on a monthly, quarterly basis, depending on how you have that set up. So make sure that you take every opportunity you can to be as transparent as possible, right? And you can communicate that information in your newsletters and those other forums that I had mentioned earlier. The third tip that I have is engaging the right vendors. Not every vendor is going to be the right vendor from your community, right? And sometimes you have to really evaluate your vendors to make sure that they're the right ones for you. Now, as a general rule, particularly from a property management perspective, you get 3 bids from 3 different vendors to identify the right ones. But you want to make sure that you are interviewing these vendors, making sure that they understand your scope and what you need, and then having them provide a proposal of how they're going to be able to provide what you need and what the price point is for them to provide that information. Now, one thing that I will tell you, you want to work with vendors that have affiliations with other organizations like BMI, Building Managers International. I'm a member of Building Managers International as a community associations manager, and I am engaged with a lot of great vendors. And you have to think that those vendors that work with these organizations, they have more at stake than a vendor that doesn't, right? And no vendor is perfect, right? And there's no guarantee that you're going to get a great vendor just because you're getting them from a organization like BMI. But that definitely helps your vetting process because you have other people that may have worked with them that can help you evaluate those vendors. So even if you don't have a property manager, like getting engaged in contact with organizations like BMI, and organizations like CAI, right? Because they are also another good group that has a list of vendors that you can tap into to provide services for your community, right? So make sure you take the opportunity to work with these groups, identify the right vendors, because that's going to also help your community as well. The next tip, the fourth tip that I have is reevaluating committees. Now, you may have different committees for things like homeowners, new homeowners committee, you may have special events committee, you may have budget committees. What you have to do with these committees, you have to evaluate these committees and make sure that they are providing the right level of value for the HOA as a whole and for the board members as well. So you want to take the opportunity to bring on new blood when it's time for elections. You engage the community and make sure you get a sense of what they feel, or get a sense of how they feel about these committees, right? So you can do a survey. Survey is always good. It's a good way to get a litmus test and get an understanding of how your community feels about these committees, and if they're actually fulfilling their goal of what they are chartered to do, right? So don't hesitate to reevaluate committees. Put out surveys to your community to get a sense of how your community feels about your committee. That's a great way to get a sense of where your committee's at, and then from there determine what you need to move forward to make um, the committees more responsive and more accountable to the members and the HOA. And the last tip that I would say is, work with an HOA management professional, right? Like I said in the beginning, being a member of a board for HOA or COA can be a thankless job. The members blame you for everything, right? All you're trying to do is really try to add value to the community. All you're trying to do is um, all you're trying to do is really get a better return for the community in terms of valuations in the community growing and making sure that things are happening the right way. But you don't have to deal with it yourself because HOA members and COA members, you cannot get paid for being on a committee with the board, right? So you don't get paid for it. It's volunteer and it's a thankless job, right? But you can pay an HOA management company to do the work for you, right? And so at some point, you know, it is in your best interest to hire a HOA or a COA management company for them to come in and help evaluate your situation, even when things are all good and great, right? If you don't have to do all the work yourself, don't, right? Even if you're retired, right? And you feel like you have all the time in the world, it's better to be in charge and have somebody else perform the tasks that you need them to do rather than you having to worry about finding vendors, evaluating vendors, or you know taking notes or meeting minutes, right? So there's a lot of value that comes into working with an HOA management company. And in addition to that, we have to be retrained every year. We have to get CEUs for the changes in the laws. And so these are things that we need to have that you don't necessarily need to have. Now, you do as an HOA member do have to have a certain level of understanding, but us as property managers need to have training for our license, right? So it's better for you as a HOA community to have us work on your behalf rather than you're doing it yourself. So contact us to explore how association management solutions can significantly improve the value of your community. We can help you problem solve and implement proven growth strategies for your HOA. It's always our mission to keep you up to date on the latest HOA trends within the Tampa metro area. If this HOA topic is helpful and you'd like to learn more and take the next step, sign up for our free webinar into how to streamline your rental portfolio for maximum growth. And the reason why you want to join that, even though it says to streamline your rental portfolio for maximum growth, in Florida, 70%, I believe, 70% of homes are in an HOA, right? Florida has the largest amount of HOAs. So even if you are HOA manager, HOA community, you'd want to know how property managers and how landlords and owners can be better neighbors, better owners in your community. And also, we'll talk about how HOAs improve the value of communities and provide you real live tips on how to get better connected with those landlords so that you can continue to grow your community even if you have a tenant living in the property and not the owner. You can also join our Facebook group to connect with other like-minded property investors and HOA community leaders. We share ideas and we discuss ongoing challenges with other professionals. And should you have any specific HOA questions that are specific to your community, schedule a call on my calendar. It's free. And we'll talk through all your needs and see the best path to help you move forward. So if you have any issues with people not paying their assessments, if people are violating their HOA governing document information, if you're having any issues in your community that are related to assessments, which is big, if you don't know what's going on with your reserves, or if you don't know if your reserves are fully funded or not, if you have any issues with any vendors, all of those are good reasons to reach out to us because we'll do all the legwork for you so you don't have to worry about it, and we'll continue to help your community grow. You can reach out to me directly. You can reach me at my email at rcharles@pmijcmrealty.com. You can also reach out to me by going to my website at pmijcmrealty.com. And you can reach out to me by calling me directly at 813-333-9617. Thank you and have a great day.